Hi there, I'm Coach Kenneth.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And today we're going to be talking about on and off again relationships. Well, relationships don't always go smoothly, do they?
Nope.
And sometimes the problems that we have in a relationship wind up leading to a breakup or multiple breakups. Mm-hmm. I did a call with somebody just yesterday who had their relationship had a lot of different breakups, and obviously we were talking about the most recent one, right? We say it all the time. Every relationship is different. Every breakup is different. And so sometimes things don't go smooth and you wind up in a breakup. But that doesn't mean you can't get back together again. As a matter of fact, one of my good friends who's been married for 30-something years at this point, had a breakup with his wife for a while, and then they wound up getting back together.
I have friends who broke up twice, and now they're happily married.
Yep.
So it happens.
Yeah, I've had friends that have broken up with their partners. I can think of one that broke up with his wife, and then they got back together, and then they got divorced again.
Wow.
And then I have another friend that had broken up with his girlfriend, and he didn't think she was ever coming back. She wouldn't talk to him. It was a terrible breakup. She wound up coming back together, and now they're still together. So it happens, okay? You can have a breakup and wind up back together. It's absolutely possible, but things have to change, and you have to really work on yourself in order to make things more likely to work again the second time.
Yeah, exactly. And it can easily become this endless cycle where then at some point you're expecting your ex to react in a certain way because they have reacted in that way in the past. And I've heard that a lot. Oh, in the past, after our second and third breakup, she did this, so I'm pretty sure she's going to do this again. It becomes predictable, and it becomes this toxic cycle that just continues over and over and over again, and those core issues keep popping up.
Yep.
And so we're going to address that today. I did want to start off also by saying I do see a lot of on and off relationships where at least one partner has more of a disorganized attachment style. Mm-hmm. So I know we do talk about attachment styles quite often on the channel, but I wanted to bring that up because oftentimes I hear from people, they're kind of confused, like they have a bit of anxious, a bit of avoidant. There is also disorganized, and it's really characteristic to have this. I'm afraid that you're going to leave me, but I also need my space. Mm-hmm. So there's sometimes that dynamic at play too.
Yeah, yep. And because it can be a lot for that person to have consistency, it overwhelms them when they get so much love. And then when they don't get their needs met, they get hurt easily, they lash out, and it can be a lot of black and white thinking, push, pull, stuff like that.
Exactly. Yeah. So normally when we hear from you guys, either in a coaching call or even in the comments sometimes, it's at the point where a partner has said, that's it, I've had enough, I'm serious this time. There's normally one catastrophic event that breaks the camel's back. Mm-hmm. And like you said before, you think that this time, this is it. They're not coming back. They're actually serious this time.
It feels different.
Right.
People will say, this time feels different.
Mm-hmm. So we really want to encourage you to think about what those reoccurring issues are and what happened right before this time, if you are currently in a breakup. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times those reoccurring issues can be pinpointed back into issues in our childhood, specifically with our caregivers and attachment, which is something we cannot emphasize enough, apparently.
I know. And I know when you first come to the channel, you're like, what are these people talking about? How is this possible? And I understand, because I felt the same way for years when I would go to see Margaret, and we would talk about this stuff, and it didn't make sense to me. But the longer I've done this, the more I see how accurate it is.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And in relationships, sure, there are going to be issues that are just not solvable. I think that the term that they use a lot of times is gridlock, when your relationship just can't get past this one point. Mm-hmm. And John Gottman, really famous psychologist who studies relationships, he discovered that 69% of conflicts are actually unsolvable. I don't know why that number couldn't have been 68.9. It had to be 69. Listen, I didn't make it up.
He may have been doing a little adjusting to the data there.
Yeah. Yeah,
to make it more memorable for
maybe.
everybody.
I mean, you guys are not going to forget now. But it is important.
It's going to be a little known fact everybody's going to be spitting out next week. Did you know 69% of conflicts are unsolvable?
What percentage?
69, of course.
So we just say that to remind you that there are going to be issues that can't be solved, but it really is up to the couple to be able to get through it with communication, with understanding each other, instead of it being a big blow up every time it comes up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. So people wind up in these situations where they're on again, off again, mm-hmm. right? So we're going to talk about that a little bit. Like, why does that happen? Why do people break up, get back together again?
Well, we have talked about attachment styles. We have talked about those gridlock issues that keep coming up, those unsolvable issues. There's also mental health, which is a huge part of it, and also why I brought up disorganized attachment just from the very beginning, to keep in mind mm-hmm. that for some people, this is a personality trait, that it is part of their personality to have this on and off push-pull.
Yeah.
So we want you to remember that. Everything in context. There's probably not just one reason across the board that we can say your specific relationship is on again, off again. But consider all these factors, reflect back on your own personal situation. Mm-hmm. What research has found is that these on again, off again relationships have lower satisfaction, the partners feel less validated in them, there's less love, lower sexual fulfillment, and also less need fulfillment in general. Mm-hmm. So we say all of this to remind you that this dynamic isn't a healthy one. It isn't sustainable in the long run. Mm-hmm. It doesn't get your needs met.
Yeah, so if you're not getting your needs met and you're just constantly frustrated and disappointment, you're going to consider alternatives.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And we also want to touch on what keeps people in these types of on-again, off-again relationships. And what research has found, specifically research by Renee Daly, thank you, Renee Daly, we were able to find that lingering feelings really is that top reason as to why people stay in these types of cycles. Mm-hmm. And also familiarity. These are two really huge components as to what keeps people around. Mm-hmm. You know, that you're comfortable, they know you, and they still have that attachment and those emotions there.
Yeah, that's big when you think about it. When you feel this familiarity and you're just used to this person, and you know you have those feelings for them. Mm-hmm. Those things don't just go away.
Exactly. So besides the whole emotional roller coaster that is separating, reuniting, people also note that they might expect their relationship to be different this time, and experience disappointment and regret when they discover that the same patterns or problems that have made them unhappy in the first place are happening again. And so this was also by Daly's research, cited by a Psychology Today article I just want to mention real quick by Teresa Donato. I think we've talked about her before. I think Margaret mentioned her name.
Quite possibly.
So.
But I mean, it just kind of shows, and it's in line with what we say about having to do the work while you're in no contact. That has to be the emphasis, is understanding how to be a better partner, where you went wrong, where they went wrong, how you can navigate it and break those cycles to have something healthier. If you don't do that, you're going to wind up in another breakup, and eventually one of those times is going to be, that's it, for this time it's really over. Mm-hmm. This time I can't take it anymore. You know? Exactly.
And we also wanted to leave you with some tips as to what to do if you find yourself in this situation. And number one, you want to be as clear and direct as you possibly can with your partner. Mm-hmm. A lot of times, people will be very vague. They're not even sure if they're on or if they're off or where their partner stands. Mm-hmm. So clear communication can really clear up some of that confusion.
Now, we're not saying to break no contact,
right,
to do that, okay? Let's be clear and direct about that with you, okay? We're working on clear communication with you. Don't break no contact. Reach out to your ex to be clearly direct with your partner about if you're broken up, okay?
Exactly.
It's important. All right, another big one. You've got to stay emotionally centered. You have to learn to soothe yourself. This is a big part of what we try and help you do with the creative healing course. We have audio affirmations, creative visualizations. I mean, I don't even know how many things we put in there to try and help people soothe themselves.
Yeah.
So you learn to do it yourself. Or you maybe have heard me talk about, even as a dad, with my son and my daughter, when they're very, very small, even babies, and they were crying. It's okay. You're okay. It's okay. Just trying to help them internalize my voice to soothe themselves so they learn to do it as an adult. You have to learn to do that.
Exactly. Along with that is remembering that feelings do change. However, we don't want to act impulsively on those feelings. And you might be, your ex might be. With this in mind, you don't want to say anything that you don't mean. A lot of times we see these on and off again relationships. It's people, they just get upset. They want to make an impact. They want to
hurt the person.
Right. They want the other person to understand how frustrated they are or how upset they are. So they say, you know what, that's it. I'm done. But do they really mean it? No. So we really want to encourage you to remember that feelings change, and then also to not just act impulsively whenever you do feel a strong emotion.
Yeah, I remember when I was working with families locally, and I remember some of the moms with the dads or the stepdads, and they would be, I remember arguments, I'm done. That was like a common phrase I used to hear all the time with certain families on a weekly basis. I'm done. Big argument, and then he was back a week later.
Yeah.
Right? I saw that all the time.
And, sometimes people can really be fed up with these threats. If you do constantly say, hey, I'm going to break up with you if you do this, then somebody gets tired of it over time. Nobody wants to be in this unstable type of relationship forever. Yes,
no, that feeling of you keep saying it's over and I can't take that anymore. It hurts too much. And the idea of you keep saying it to me, I know it's going to happen at some point. So they're like, I just don't want to keep doing it.
Right, your words carry a lot of weight.
All right, the last thing we want to talk about is working with a therapist locally to help you with your issues, working on those core issues, looking at your abandonment issues and any traumas you may have had, and getting to a place where you can soothe yourself and handle the challenges of a relationship like closeness and space, and a lot of times dealing with uncertainty, right? Because the more you can do that, the more confident you look in your relationships. And the more confident you are, the more attractive you're going to be, right? Okay, so hopefully this one's been helpful to you. Of course, if you want to get our help personally, you can do that on my website, askcraig.net. I do email coaching and I do Skype. Victoria is also available for Skype coaching.
I'm here whenever you need to talk.
Just click on her name at the top of the website to schedule with her. But that's it for this video. I'm Coach Craig Kenneth.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And we will talk with you soon.